Welcome back, I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. We are here in theCUBE's NYSE studio. Of course, we have our Palo Alto studio connecting Silicon Valley and Wall Street, tech and capital. Technology is the market, and this week, Retail Week is happening. This is the AI Trailblazer series in retail, where in retail, which is an edge environment, you're starting to see the physical and the digital worlds come together. This is where the experiences change, the business operations change, everything's changing. Again, just one of many verticals, Retail Trail. We have one here in the studio, CUBE alumni, Akash Gupta, who is the co-founder and CEO of GreyOrange. Akash, great to see you. You're back. You just, seems like yesterday, it was almost a year ago.
Absolutely.
Welcome back.
Thank you, thanks for having me again, and things are moving real fast.
We got a little upgrade here, the trading floor is going crazy. You know, NRF sets the agenda every year, right after CES, almost like a 1-2 punch. You got CES, you know, this year was great with Jensen up there, you know, physical AI, but you know, physical AI is the next wave of retail, obviously brick and mortars, but a lot of the internal plumbing's getting done in retail. The data plumbing, the models are starting to get adopted. You're starting to see agentic with real proof points. I don't think there's a strategy risk in retail. Infuse AI in all the business. That's a strategy, people get that. It's the execution risk we're seeing. Proof is in the pudding. We want to see proof points. This is the market. You guys are in the middle of it. You got an edge solution. What's changed for you this year?
Yeah, I think firstly, you know, a lot of advancements that has happened is starting to kind of get together. It's starting to get, you know, real. A combination of, you know, compute on the cloud and, you know, compute on the edge is starting to kind of make things very, very real in the stores for the consumer, in the stores for store associates, in the store for visual merchandisers and likes of that. So I think, you know, this year and last 12 months, we've started seeing, you know, things on concept level getting real, and from that point of time, getting to real dollars and getting to real customer experience.
You guys have a lot of traction. We've been following you guys for a while, GreyOrange. Talk for people that aren't familiar with what you guys have. You got some good go-to-market momentum, product's great. Give an update, set the table. What do you guys do? What's the current state of the art?
Yeah, so from GreyOrange perspective, you know, we are basically an AI orchestration play. You know, unique thing about us is we basically orchestrate from, you know, supply chain to retail stores. So we have our software orchestrating robots, people, technology in warehouses, and then software orchestrating, you know, people, technology, sensors in retail stores. And that's the power of autonomy era that we are going in, where you can really consume large amount of data sets, connect multiple nodes, and make sure that you can optimize things end to end rather than looking things at silo. And we are right at you know, that point of, you know, getting to a point where commerce can be one, whether it is physical retail, online retail, you can look at it all at the same time.
You know, one of the things I've observed, and first of all, I love the fact that you guys have this systems mindset. In retail, one of the things that's very clear this year, and I think there's no debate, but maybe last year there was, is that retail grew in a kind of an IT sprawl fashion. Email system runs over here, email marketing there, you got automation there, you got the database. Now the word orchestration comes into play. You speak of orchestration at a different scale. Could you scope your level of orchestration, because it's, I won't say harder, it's a little bit more complex. Compare and contrast what the word orchestration means on your side and how retail can inject that into their business.
Sure, yeah. You know, orchestration basically means two things, a combination of two things. One is consuming all the data set in real time and understanding what decisions to be made, right? And a lot of people do this, but once decisions are getting made with that intelligence, how do you get to execute them, right? So orchestration is planning and execution together in real time. That's what orchestration means, which means that, you know, I'll give you an example. You know, very recently we have been working with a customer. So let's say, you know, you looked at a particular zip code and said, okay, there's a concert happening on that zip code, right? You know, the intelligence layer, basically orchestration layer, looks at that and says, you know what, for this, my sale window on retail store should have this on them, right? You basically execute that intelligence by giving a task to the store associate to say, you know what, concert is happening, I want these two apparel items on my sale window. You don't stop there. Now when you know that's going to happen, you also trigger your supply chain and saying, you know what, I need 100 quantity of this from warehouses to store because this demand is going to go up. So basically, look at the complete world scenario, right? Take a decision, get it executed end to end from store to supply chain to manufacturing and likes of that, and that's what's happening with GreyOrange in retail this year.
And I would just point out, just for the people trying to grok this concept, the reasoning plays a big role in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So AI actually enables this.
Yeah.
I mean, connecting systems has always been kind of hard, integrating, that's a tech challenge.
Yeah.
So reasoning comes in. You have to go, oh, what kind of genre is it?
Yeah.
Heavy metal, EDM, or whatever country. I mean, they'll have different buying patterns.
Absolutely.
Kick off, what products do they buy? Is it raining?
Yeah.
Might need some umbrellas.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's been the power of AI, that you have that chain of thought reasoning, that can come in, which means that you're not setting rules anymore, right? You're basically saying this concert, this demographics, this location, this inventory, and it's all coming out together and saying, okay, you know what, this is what's going to happen, right? And you can execute that, measure that, and then take a better decision next day, right? And we are seeing, stores and e-commerce websites almost having a life of its own. They're evolving of its own from all the data, all the reasoning, all the understanding.
It's intelligence. It's got its own neural network. It's nervous system. I wrote a post on SiliconANGLE going into NRF, and the title's called Retail 2026, When AI Becomes the Operating System. And you're kind of pointing at this because I want you to take me through the use case, because it sounds easy. Oh yeah, I got to see all the data. But you're talking about different types of data. You got warehouse, you got distribution, you got supply chain, you have different elements. Talk about the complexity. How hard is it? How much end-to-end do you need? What's the minimum? And then kind of where does that flex? Can you take us through the deployment?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think firstly, when you try to kind of train these kind of world models like store world models or warehouse world models, you need a lot of data, right? Because synthetic data can only take you to a certain point. You need a lot of data. I'll give you an example. Like, when we are training our store and warehouse world models, today we have data of 250 million miles of AMR movements, right? We are basically consuming like 100 million of units of EPCs, RFID tags, every hour, right? So you need that level of real data.
So that's a huge scale.
Yeah, so you need that kind of scale, and then you need understanding of how to kind of create embeddings for each of these data types, right? How do you contextualize all of that, right? And how do you finally take all of that data, go through this chain of thought reasoning, and then create task and get executed, right? And when you're kind of creating task and executing, you also need to understand what is the skill set of the agent that is executing it, right? So let's say if there's a task that needs to kind of go up, you have to choose a forklift versus for a simple task, you can choose a person. So basically, first take all of the data of different types, right? Contextualize it, go through the chain of thought of reasoning, and then create task understanding what kind of capability you have in which of the node, and then get it executed.
That's why I like Jensen when 2 years ago at GTC, it's like static versus dynamic or generative. You don't know what's going to come next.
Yeah.
You got to be ready for that. That's where the intelligence layer comes in. Talk about the platform, because based upon some of your momentum with your partners, you're seeing success. Where's the layer of handoff? You guys view yourself as an enabling platform. You mentioned Zebra Technologies. We cover them in depth. They have a lot of customers. So are you guys shipping a platform to them? Where's the handoff? Because domain expertise becomes big. Obviously, having scenario planning or execution and with reasoning, it requires some sort of beauty's in the eye of the beholder. The data is the data. Where do you kind of stop and hand off? Where's that? Take us through the.
Yeah, so basically, we take over once, a user, a consumer, orders something on a website or enters a store or likes of that, right? That's where we kind of take over the experience of the consumer, right? And then we execute it to the point we hand over the good to the consumer or to a third-party logistic, like a FedEx or UPX for shipping and things like that, right? So basically helping a customer generate the right demand through kind of giving all the understanding and intelligence, and then making it to the point where either that good is shipped or it is handed to the.
So you would consider yourself an operating system in my example of my post.
Absolutely. GreyOrange is basically that orchestration layer operating system for retail, connecting all possible nodes together.
Okay, I want you to explain. This is an expert question to you, because I know retails, they don't, operating system in my title is really more of a lean towards NVIDIA because they love computer science, but for a non-computer science person in retail, explain what an operating system is from your standpoint, because I think this is going to be more and more of the discussion.
Yeah, so I think let's try
from their standpoint.
Yeah, let's try break down operating system. Basically, how retail has to operate is basically there is a certain amount of demand that is coming in. Then you have to take all the decisions, and you have a certain amount of resources. Think about operating system in a computer.
Yeah.
Basically what you're trying to do is there's an application, which is trying to kind of execute something. You have certain amount of memory, you have certain amount of disk and likes of that, and you have interfaces, right? Interfaces to take inputs, which are like keyboards, mouses, and likes
subsystems,
of that, and likes of that. So you have basically multiple systems which have their own constraint, and you're trying to kind of achieve something out of that thing. And same as with the retail, right? So basically, operating system takes care of all the decisions need to be taken, and then gets it executed by real devices, right? Whether it is showing you
it runs.
Yeah, and it basically kind of does it at very, very high frequency that we all doesn't even realize, right? Yeah. All of that needs to happen in retail. Millions of decisions are to be taken in retail every single minute. Right? What to manufacture next, what to kind of order next. Okay, now I've ordered, it's manufactured, how should I distribute it? Once it is distributed, coming to the store, where should I keep it, right? How much should I price it, right? Should I keep it here at the front or the back? Which two products should be kept together? Yeah. All of those decisions need to be taken and then executed.
We've all had experiences in our lives where you buy software, it's like, it doesn't run on that operating system.
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of the day, the application in the OS example, in retail, it's what they want. What their business is. I want to ship products to a customer. I want to provide a application or a service. This becomes the thinking. So I have to ask you this, in your opinion, given what NRF's evolved to, do you think that the retail industry is thinking more systematically in their holistic view, or is it still kind of like that IT sprawl and they're trying to put an abstraction together? Are tech leaders and business people thinking about the operating system and then the applications that are minimum to needed to run? Are they thinking that way in your mind, or are they just in the first inning?
I think it's still on the first innings. I think it's still very early days, right? And retail has gone through, this is how I think about this, right? Retail was going on, everybody was trying to kind of, innovate on retail, and then suddenly e-commerce came in and all the focus went to e-commerce, and the physical retail part of it kind of got ignored and ignored for like a decade or so.
Brick and mortar's dying.
Yeah,
it's exploding.
Exactly, and that's still like 70% plus of the overall retail commerce, right? So I think we are starting to get to the point where people are again back on, okay, you know what? Okay, e-commerce is a thing, retail is here to stay, right? And how do we bring all of that together? So I think we're still in first innings of that. There's some way to go.
All right, so I have to ask you about the physical AI piece, because you bring up a great point. I agree with you, by the way. I think there's always like, oh yeah, it's not the trend. The zeitgeist says digital everything, go e-commerce, retail's dying. Obviously the connectivities are an issue in some places, but I think that's now gone. I think people realize you can have a physical store or outlet or location and have a first-party digital converge. That's converged. And you see crypto, all these other mechanisms clearly point to that sign. So as physical AI comes next, agentic will dominate in the short term. They'll recast the plumbing, get systems like you guys in there, get gray matter, GreyOrange in there, all that stuff will be deployed, and then they start thinking, okay, how do I get the power to the retail? Where does physical AI come in? Because agents will get the job done, you'll see some benefit, but the real investment's going to be, how do I physically turn an experience face-to-face or physically marry that into digital? The edge is in place, technology at the edge, it's technology while you're in mobile. So I'm in New York, I could be in Central Park on my phone, walk over to Nordstrom's if I want to, or not.
See, the good thing about retail is basically a game of bits and atoms, right? It's not about buying a plane ticket that is all only about atoms and then you bits and you kind of go and do it, right? Retail is a game of bits and atoms, right? Whatever you do, finally, you have to deal with a physical good moving from point A to B to C to a customer and then to return and then back to the warehouse. So that's really, really relevant for physical AI, right? And what physical AI is enabling is different devices, robotic devices and sensor devices and likes of that, to be very, very intelligent at the edge, right? And that's basically gonna change how things operate. Like, I think we are definitely gonna see a lot of store operations, right? Which are, I would say, not very value added for the customer experience, gonna be kind of taken over by robotics, right? All the work that happens in night in the third shift, I think that's going to all move to robotic systems, right? While the human interaction becomes the center of it, where you really have a well-educated AI-powered human interacting with you when you're going to the store and likes of that. So I think physical AI is going to make a lot of room for human-to-human interaction, which we value today when we go into the store, and take away all the boring part of operations and get it automated.
Akash, I think you're on something really big there, because I think what the physical AI will bring is relevance to the physical thing. Product, person, real world or robot. The edge has to be converged, in my opinion. I'm sure you agree with that. But once that happens, once an AI factory is in the store, I mean, a DGX box from NVIDIA is this big. I mean, it's like tiny. Plug that in, connect the access points, collapse the spectrum and unlicensed spectrum and spectrum together, you have a unlimited interface. That's going to happen.
Absolutely.
What happens next after that?
Yeah, I think after that, basically, you get the power of giving your customer entering in the store a completely personalized experience. Not just that, you get the power of setting up the store for that particular zip code in the way that demographics like, right? Today, when you set up a store, basically
it's cut and paste.
Yeah, it's cut and paste. Think about this. A Fifth Avenue store and Soho store are set up the same way. The demographics are completely different. One, Soho is being visited by tourists and Fifth Avenue with a completely different people, right? You still set up the store same.
And the reason why they do that is cost. It's simply mechanics.
Exactly. You just can't have so many people to kind of think about this. You don't have that level of data and likes of that. Once you get all of that data and the intelligence that we are talking about, and then power of execution. Okay, let's say this digital AI agent tells you, you need to rearrange the store this way. Where will you get the man hours to do that, right? Retail is a low margin business. You can't really spend like n number of hours. Now with physical AI and robotics and likes of that, you can change your layout every single day without worrying about it. So your next day, your store is set up for what happened yesterday, right? And that's all going to happen.
Yeah, I love what you guys are talking about. And also I will point out that you guys, you in particular and your company, have been on both our robotics AI series and now retail. There's crossover there, rightfully so, because the far edge, whatever you want to call it, if the edge is the access to the store environment, the edge is the human or robot.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that software will be tied in a network configuration. That's just more value.
No, absolutely. See, I strongly believe retail is all going to be all about digital AI agents and physical AI agents, right? Because retail, as I said, is a combination of bits and atoms. So retail is going to be governed by somebody who can master physical AI agents and digital AI agents all coming together to give that right consumer experience.
Explain what that mastery looks like, in your opinion. If you had to, I know it's early to kind of flesh this out, but if you had to give like a quick speech or master class or riff on that, what would it be?
Yeah, I think when you talk about digital AI agents, it's all about being able to use different kind of neural networks and models in the context of a situation, right? Basically, I always try and go down to basics, right? So, let's say if you ask me a question, right? Now I have so many options, right? I can think about it, I can Google about it, I can ask Claude, I can ask GPT and likes of that. I need to decide which is the best way of getting that information. That's exactly what agentic means, right? Basically our agent has, access to lots of tools. It basically understands what's needed, acts as a combination of these tools, and gives you what needs to be. That's digital, agents, right? Once that is done, when you're talking about retail, basically it will always involve either talking to a customer, moving a particular item from point A to point B, or getting it shipped from the warehouse. That's where physical AI agent, comes in, but that also needs understanding of, what happens when you touch a product, right? The sensor data, right? How do you coordinate all of that, right? So physical AI agent is all about understanding the behavior of that hardware, right? And embodying intelligence inside that to kind of execute something.
And also you mentioned the store layout as an example, a great use case. Let's just kind of go in the future a little bit. I mean, it's attainable, but here's would be the scenario. The robots, they don't sleep. So you could have a store looking like something when it closes and be completely different the next morning.
Absolutely.
If it's programmed properly and you had the right workflows.
Absolutely, and I think it's going to happen faster than what we are all imagining. Because what I've seen in last 12 months, if you asked me this question in March, I would have said, I think it's like 3-4 years still to go. But I think it's going to happen in like a couple of years. I think we're going to see such use cases happening in a couple of years. The rate at which the embodied AI and things like that are kind of going forward, I think all of this is going to happen very fast, where next day the store is set up from all the understanding that it got last day.
Yeah. Okay, what's next for you guys? Give some stats on momentum since we last talked in March. NRF obviously popping, that show's great. I mean, 45,000 people. 40 to 45,000, massive numbers. I mean, retail is a tech show. Technology is the market now.
Yeah,
I mean, this is happening.
Yeah, I think if you look at last 18 months, GreyOrange has added 3,000 physical kind of locations that we are powering through AI orchestration. We have added 100,000 agents, and for us, agents is anybody who we are orchestrating. It can be a robot, it can be a sensor, it can be a person and likes of that. So literally in last 18 months, we have added 100,000 agents to our platform that we are connecting with, talking with, and orchestrating. And that's like faster than what happened in last 5 years.
For the business people out there, who's your customer? Who do you sell to? What's the value proposition?
Yeah, so I think for our customers is basically any retailer out there, right? From H&Ms of the world to Fabletics of the world to IKEAs of the world. So basically any retailer who deals with e-commerce, retail, store, warehouses is our customer.
And the buyer's technical or business or both?
Both. We sell to Chief Supply Chain Officer, we sell to CIO, we sell to CEO, because if you're trying to build that operating system, right? All of these people need to kind of come together and say, how do we kind of get that basic fabric of your retail, right, by getting, right tools in. So think about this as us as, fabric of physical retail, that needs to connect everything.
It's a platform.
Together.
Total platform. And you plug in, partner with folks out in the industry.
Yeah, and on the other
like
side,
Zebra of the world.
Exactly. On the other side, we partner with robotic companies who are building robots, which we orchestrate. We, partner with people who are doing handles. We partner with people who are doing cameras, because for us, it's all about consuming any kind of sensor data and then executing through any kind of agent. So
it'd be safe to say that you guys are at the nexus of physical AI and digital AI.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, what's next this year? What's the focus?
The focus for us is to start, getting towards more and more autonomy, right? I think, there's this debate of getting from automation to autonomy, right? Automation is when things can be done by, without human intervention, but the decision making is done by human. Autonomy is when the decision making is done through AI and gets executed through autonomous agents. So I think, we are basically pushing the world towards autonomy as much as possible.
Akash, great to have you on again. Good to see you. Congratulations. I love what you guys do. Again, you guys cross over robotics leaders as well as retail. Again, the technology is the market. That's our vision at theCUBE. Thanks for coming on our Retail AI Trailblazers. Keep blazing.
Absolutely, thanks for having me again.
All right, I'm John Furrier. Again, AI is changing the world, and then retail specifically, that's a physical and digital converged environment, user experience, personalization, business operations as well. Don't forget that. That's what's happening. Again, this is happening in all verticals. Retail in particular will impact our experiences and of course how we interact with each other and the products that we love every day. theCUBE's doing its part, bringing you the data here. Thanks for watching.